Hi, I'm Jamie Soche, and my goal today is to inspire each of you to create the best art experiences in the classroom for your students. I love everything about art. I like learning about art. I like seeing art. I like making art and creating art. I love teaching art, but what I'm passionate about is allowing kids to be sensory explorers in the art room in the classroom. It is so important that you offer your students art experiences that are open-ended, that allow them to be curious, to discover, to explore, and to use their imaginations freely. We're going to talk a lot about process art and product art and where the best uses of both of those things are. But first I want to talk about the history of process art. I think if I asked each of you what famous painter comes to mind when you think of process art, you're all going to tell me Jackson Pollock. He was an abstract expressionistic painter. His art was based on the process of creating it as opposed to the final outcome. He would lay a canvas on the floor, he would drip and he would pour paint in stages. And it was more about the process of him creating it and the actions involved than what that final piece was going to look like. Although he did do his art in stages and he did record the force and the scope of everything he did with how it landed on that surface. He started to inspire many other artists in the 1960s and 70s. They became more interested in the process as opposed to the final outcome. The artist that coined the phrase process art was an artist named Robert Morris. Now I want to take a look at the two different categories we kind of separate art into, and that being process art and product art. With product art, it's usually adult driven. There's usually specific steps that we follow. There's usually a right or wrong way to do it, and there is usually a final outcome that it's supposed to look like. With process art, it's usually child-directed and choice-driven. There's room for exploration and discovery. And the final product is usually unique because it's more about the process of creating it as opposed to what the final thing looks like. So when we allow the focus to be on the creation of the artwork, what we're allowing is our students to experience and to discover. To say it simply, we are providing the materials to let them be the sensory explorers. I know this is hard at times, but try to really trust their process. The hardest part is stepping back and allowing them to create without direction. There will be times that you put out materials and you have this great idea of what you think and imagined it to be, but maybe they're using the materials differently than you had planned, or maybe you had thoughts of rainbows and it looks like mud puddles. But it's really okay. When they start telling you about what they're doing, or you see that excitement in their face about this artwork they created, that's when you're gonna know this is okay. So when I taught art to K through 8th graders, I still kept process art as my main focus. I rarely showed art examples ahead of time. I always gave them an art challenge. There were sometimes a few parameters here and there, but I tried to keep it as open-ended as possible. And wow, I can't tell you the creativity I could pull out of these kids by allowing them to take these projects where they wanted to take them. I can't tell you how many times I said, I never thought of doing that, or how did you do that? Please show me. The creativity that they showed me was just absolutely amazing. So I truly love all art. I believe there's a place for all of it within the classroom. I want to talk about product art, directed draws, coloring pages, and crafts. They can all be used in the classroom. I think that as long as you're using them appropriately, then it's fantastic. Coloring pages are great fine motor activities. I would suggest using crayons. I think that develops more strength in the hand than a marker because marker slides so easy. So when you have your fine motor games and activities out on the tables, that's a great place to put your coloring pages, have them out at that time. Directive draws are great for assessment, seeing if kids can follow directions. Also, if you're teaching a specific skill, if you want the kids to be drawing squares, you're gonna need to show them how to draw a square and have them draw it. If you're teaching them a specific skill like that. Crafts are great for themed activities or holiday activities. So as long as you're using all these things appropriately, they can all be used in the classroom. I would really like to encourage you to call the art activities you're setting up for your students art experiences. Rather than thinking, is it product art? Is it process art? If we just change the language and call them art experiences, I think that would be really great. I hope you are now inspired to create these art experiences for your students. Art experiences that are open-ended and allow your students to think and create like artists and inventors. I also hope you're excited about allowing your students the gift to be curious, to explore, and to create art freely in your classroom.